And he just, as I said, patted me on the head and told me, oh, no, 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 you just have a little postpartum depression. It'll pass. And he hadn't prepared me for going into a huge bout of mania, which was triggered by the very heady election campaign and the problem I spoke of earlier, of the fluctuation of hormones. I had got on the airplane with Pierre to cross the country and to do the campaign in 1974 with Sasha at my breast. But we got on the plane and we started crossing the country. We were doing about 5 stops and then ending out in Vancouver in this big plane, and there was a little curtain between where we were sitting and where the press and the media and everyone else was. And as soon as, of course, in 1974, when the seatbelt sign went off, everybody lit up. So the air was toxic. And I was such an earth mother that I couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear my little darling 6-month-old breathing in this horrid air. So Pierre said, well, Margaret, you either have to leave the baby, or both of you stay in Vancouver with your family, or both of you stay and you'll have to leave the campaign. Well, there's no way I was leaving the campaign. I felt that I was his secret weapon. I was right, because I had to warm him up and make people understand what a good man he was. Not just a professor and an intellectual and lecturing people. He was really a very, very fine human being. And I wanted Canadians to know that he was more than they were painting him or knowing him as, that he was a fine person. So we did the campaign, but again, I gave up my baby, and one day I went from feeding him to not feeding him. And so that fluctuation of my hormones triggered me into the mania, plus the headiness of the crowds and the excitement of the campaign. And when we won, it was so big. So then when it was all over, there was sort of of course, a fall. But I was still quite manic. And the first stage of mania is everybody in this room would love to live in hypomania. So would I. What a great state. You're still in charge. You still are rational. You still can get things done. But you're very creative. You're very open to everything, enthusiastic, full of passion and interest. Unfortunately, the hypomania escalates into mania, which is just dreadful. A whole new meaning to Trudeaumania, I can tell you. But when we got home after the election, we went up to winning the big landslide win. We went up to Harrington Lake, and I was restless, of course, as a manic person is. And I thought, well, I should just go down to Montreal and shop today. So I told Pierre I was just going down to Montreal to shop. And fine, I went down to Montreal. Once I got into Montreal, I thought I should just go to Paris. So I went went to Air Canada office and got myself a ticket and went out to before I went to the airport, I got myself a suitcase and beautiful clothes. The other problem with mania is you just spend. You can wipe out all your savings, all your finances, max up your credit cards. It's a very dangerous state because you don't think. You think you're so powerful and the money's just going to pour in. You'll win the lottery. Of course, you'll forget to buy the lottery ticket. So I got to Paris without a ticket, and that was no problem. It was 1974. There wasn't any security problems. I just told them, I'm Margaret Trudeau, the wife of Canada's belle. Oui, madame, bonjour. Bienvenue à France. So they let me in, and I went to the Canadian Council there. They let me, consulate. They let Pierre know where I was because he had no idea. I forgot to tell him where I was. But I went to get a passport because, of course, I had to go on to Greece, and walk around Crete by myself, taking photographs of churches. That was I was a pilgrim. It was everyone has to have 40 days in the wilderness, don't they? So that was the first bout of real mania, and it hurt Pierre terribly, my running like that, and it went worse and worse, and Ted Kennedy came into it. You'll read about it in the book. I convinced myself I was madly in love with this man. He understood me, Pierre Trudeau didn't. You have just wrong thinking. Mind you, there is also the other problem with mania is that sexual promiscuity is part of it. You're alive, and you're very attractive to men. Very, very. I remember watching 30 Rock, that pig who plays Alec Baldwin plays, said, "Oh, I love emotionally unstable women. They're so good in the rack." But I was trying to deal with all of this while having my babies, living in an isolated ivory tower. I came from a family of 5 girls. There was always hustle and bustle in our house. There was always people to talk to. There was always jokes and laughter. There was always someone to pick you up if you were feeling low. And suddenly I was very alone with a man who was the most disciplined man I've ever known in my life. I got an hour and a half a day with him. I got dinner and then digestion after dinner. That was it. And he worked from morning till midnight. He was a very hard disciplined worker, a very rational man. He was fun when he wanted to be, and he knew how to let go. But mostly he was just a really hard-working man. And in our marriage, in our courtship, we just played. I was his distraction, and we played. I didn't know about the other side of Pierre Trudeau, the true side of him, this extraordinary disciplined leader who really worked hard and totally knew himself. And I was so unformed and unprepared for being put into my place. And I didn't think this was actually my place. I was right. You can't talk here.
I don't need to.
I'm not manic.
And I'm not depressed. What strikes you in this book, and I know you wrote the book to help people, is how much do you think of your illness was created by the extraordinary circumstances? Is it,
It's not created. You've used the wrong word. It's triggered.
Triggered.
Created would mean that my life had caused it. No, it was the imbalance in my brain health. My brain health was what was giving me the problems. It was just the triggers were in the life, the stresses, the pressures, the loneliness, the isolation, the being misunderstood, having no voice, being in a marriage with a man who was very, very tough on me because he had a high expectation. Pierre wanted excellence from everybody. And when I failed him, he was rough on me, yeah.
We should say that the book is a very affectionate look at Pierre Trudeau, too.
I love that man. All my life, all his life, I loved him with all my heart.
And you don't blame him.
No. There's 2 things, Susan, that happen when you have a mental illness. The first is denial. You will not accept that you have a mental illness. Well, who wants to be crazy? Who wants to have everybody know that they're crazy? You deny it. And your family will try and fix you. They'll try and, oh, Margaret, if you just do yoga, if you just eat some more fish, if you go for a walk, run, whatever. So denial that there is a problem is the thing that holds everybody back from getting help. And the other thing that goes along with it is that you blame everybody else for your problems. So I did all of that. I blamed Pierre, I blamed the press, I blamed the nannies, I blamed the police, I blamed everything. And you have to learn that, first of all, my doctor said, when you accept the hand that you've been dealt and the problems that you're living with, and you accept them, then you're 50% recovered from the problems, because you're facing them and you're sorting them and you're dealing with them and getting help for them. So denial keeps you from getting the help that you need, of course. And the blame only makes you miserable because you're not taking responsibility. I couldn't take responsibility for some of my actions that were caused by my misfunctioning or dysfunctioning brain, but I certainly could take responsibility that it was up to me to fix myself, to reach out for help, and to listen to the doctors when they told me what I had, and to listen to them when they told me, for example, that I had to stop smoking marijuana. Oh, yeah.
We're going to get to
it's
that.
No trouble. No, it's just, that's benign. No.